Hello everyone, my name is Dennis, and if you have found this interview, it's highly likely that you are a reader or admirer of the poet Walter Rinder. In the late 1960s, throughout the 1970s and beyond, Walter touched the lives of many, many people and has sold huge quantities of books, posters and cards. Some poets have the ability, with their choice of words, to make you see things in a different way, maybe even help to steer your life in a new direction, and Walter Rinder did that for me. I've had an interest in creative writing and poetry from an early age and would buy books that I found appealing. However, it was in my early 20s, while searching through tables of books at a sale, that Walter first entered my life. On that day, I purchased a copy of Love is an Attitude, which was my introduction to an amazing world. When I got home, I was mesmerised by what I was reading. These were poems I could relate to, with accompanying photographs I would get lost in. The words were enriching and thought-provoking, and I had discovered what so many people before me already had, the beautiful poetry of Walter Rinder. Over the years, I would seek out Walter's other titles, each one special in its own way. As I have grown older, and with the passing of years, the one constant in my life has been my collection of Walter's books. They are a reliable source of positivity and simple happiness. Now and again, I sought out information on this philosopher and poet of peace in an effort to learn more about him. In recent times, there has been very little written about Walter and information is scarce, something I find puzzling as his books have been read and enjoyed by so many people, especially during the 1970s. Some time back, after much searching, I managed to contact Walter, who is now in his mid-80s. He still resides in Oregon, a place which he has called home since the 1970s. Over a 6-month period, I conducted several phone interviews with him in an attempt to get some of his story down and to share it with the world. In my opinion, the world is a better place because of Walter's books, and it was a great honour to be able to record some of the stories behind his poems. If you've ever been touched by the words of Walter Rinder, then I hope you will enjoy the interview. As time moves forward, this interview will also be heard by those who are just discovering Walter's books. To you, I say welcome. Welcome to the wonderful world of Walter Rinder. Walter, thanks for joining me today. It's an absolute honour to chat with you.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity to share with you in your beautiful country. I wish if I was younger, I'd like to come over and live there. I think it's beautiful, and I love the people. My books used to sell there, and then my publisher stopped printing them because poetry wasn't popular anymore. And so all the people I met and letters I received were fantastic.
Well, thank you. I have been a reader of and fan of yours for many years. You have been my favourite poet, and the purpose of my call is two reasons. Firstly is to simply say hello and to say thank you.
That's very nice of you. It's very nice of you.
Your books have played a massive part of my life, and they have had a huge influence on me and helped me make positive changes in my life. I guess the second point is that there is still very little information about you available online, and I think that younger people are discovering your works, and there are many people who would like to learn more about you, but I would very much love to get some of your life story recorded.
Well, sure. I had a biography written. I can't find it, but I have it written about me and my life and things. I'd love to send a copy of it if I can find it.
Well, thank you. Many years ago, Walter, I purchased a book from you, which you signed. It was Spectrum of Love Revisited, which I purchased off you, and you signed, "Trust in your feelings, they are the voices of your soul." Those words had a huge impact, and they set me off on a brand new path. So more than anything, I wanted to say thank you for that. It really did. It was life-changing.
Oh, that's really, really nice. It's good to hear that because our country now is a mess, absolute mess. And it's good to hear some positive feelings, like from you. All I see is negative. It's very sad that poetry isn't selling anymore, and that love is not a way of life anymore.
Well, I think. I think so many of us strive for a simpler life and to go back to a simpler time. And especially myself, I carry your books with me a lot of the time, and I'm not of the modern world, to be honest. But
I've never been, and it's been a struggle trying to keep my books published because my publisher has to make money, and so when they stop selling, it's very sad. It was very sad. All of a sudden, he brought me into his office, saying that my books aren't selling. We're going to have to let you go. So it was very sad. But I hope maybe there can be a rejuvenation of it. But first, we got to get rid of some of these politicians in our country that's causing so many negative thoughts and feelings.
May I reiterate what an honor it is to chat with you today? I believe that in this current day and age, we need your words more than ever before. Someone once said of you that he gives meaning to our lives, inspiration to our souls, which I think is very, very accurate.
I'm happy and fulfilled when I can share with other people. I've always been that way, even as a little boy.
Well,
so the opportunity to share with you my feelings and thoughts like that, I feel it's an honor.
Well, Walter, an obvious first question is, how old were you when you realized you had talent and, I guess, the ability to write?
I think I wasn't too young, probably 25 years old, 26, 25. And I was doing not just writing, but I was doing photography. That was a really important part of my life. It's my photography. I've had showings at galleries and things, and most of my photography was in color. And I had in North Beach in San Francisco, I opened up a gallery for my photography. So it's interesting because I didn't know that my writing was going to take off. I thought my photography was going to be what I was going to share with people. And it happened to be both.
You were born in 1935, and I believe you were raised in Chicago before relocating to Los Angeles. Is that correct?
No, I only spent a couple of years in Chicago as a little boy. And I was raised mostly in Southern California. And then after I was there for a while, I wanted to travel. So I spent the next 10, 15 years traveling. I was very happy. I went to Arizona, all over the United States. But I never got over to Australia. And I was very sad.
What are your teenage memories, in particular your time in Alhambra High School, 1948 to 52? Were you writing a lot back then?
No, not that much. I didn't get inspired to write or create books until I moved to San Francisco. And that's where my career really started. I made greeting cards. I made posters during haight-ashbury, the hippie days.
Mm-hmm.
And did a lot of posters. And that's when my career got started in San Francisco in the 1960s, 61 or 62.
Can I ask, and I just mentioned your teenage memories, what was early 1950s America like?
Very simple. We didn't have the TV at first, so we spent a lot of time with people, relating to each other. Now they don't. They relate to games and television and all, as you know. So I was influenced by that, wanting to keep a simple life, wanting to relate to people and love people is really what I wanted to do. And the way I started doing that is writing and photography, especially photography. That was more important than anything in the world to me, be able to photograph somebody, or a certain expression or whatever, And then I thought, well, I'll put my photography together with my writing, and it started by chance. I had a few greeting cards I made up in Haight Street and put them in bookstores and stuff. And a publisher in San Francisco saw my work and asked if I'd like to do some posters and greeting cards. And I said, and he distributed them worldwide. I said, yeah. I said, I'd love to. Thank you. And so, he did, I think, 12 posters and 12 greeting cards and distributed them all over the world. That was very exciting because, I was just a human being, and here he's bringing me out into the world and touching people and things. So that's how I got started with it.
A crucial part of your books are the wonderful photographs which appear. And I know that in the mid-'60s you held your first public showing of your photography at the Bernal Heights Street Fair.
Yeah, that was the first time I displayed my photography.
How did your love of photography develop?
I always loved photography all my life, as far as I can remember. I love to take pictures and capture moods and feelings and hold on to them and share them. I've always loved photography. I just never thought of making a living doing it. I could support myself.
It really, photography really was an art form all its own in days gone by. Has photography lost its charm in the modern world?
Art photography has. Yeah. In our modern world, it's unfortunate, but in our modern world, most of the sensitivity of being human is lost. And so photography is the same thing. That people aren't buying art photography as much as they are, games and all things like that. So I was just hoping that my art would open up people to a more loving, way of life.
As you mentioned, I think it was around 1969 you signed, was it a contract with Celestial Arts Publishing? And before you had published your first books with them, as you mentioned,
they were the ones that published my first book.
Okay, and they'd published your black and white posters and greeting cards. So how did that collaboration begin?
They saw they saw a series of my greeting cards on a rack, and they said, how would you like to do posters and we'll do your greeting cards and we can distribute them all over the world. And that's how they saw my work on Haight Street, and that's how I got started.
1969, that is the time period which you wrote your first book, Love is an Attitude.
Yeah.
And at the same time, did you relocate to Laytonville, California?
Oh, yeah. After I got started with the posters and greeting cards, I moved up to a little town in Northern California. And after being there a while, I moved up to Oregon, Portland, Oregon. I'd never been there, but I wanted something new and revitalized my art and things. And the redwoods I just loved. I just loved the redwoods. So I spent a couple of years there, and then I opened up an art gallery in Portland called This Speck of Earth. And then I've been here ever since, Portland.
What is it about Portland which you've identified with?
I love the people. They were simple people. They weren't complicated. And they related to you. And I liked all the trees and all the, the river and the ocean and things like that. Now it's changed. It's changed tremendously. Because there's too many people now, and the people's attitudes have changed, as they have everywhere I've traveled. It's not the same thing. I traveled the country in 1973, and going back to some of the same places, it's sad. So many people have moved in. So many people have changed. They're not as friendly as they were in '73 even. When I traveled the whole country. So I just decided to stay here until, the rest of my life, and hope that my books could live on, because I've not written, I've not felt the feeling of wanting to write. I just was hoping that the books I have out, the Spectrum of Love Revisited, is the latest one that was published by myself. I published it because my publisher wouldn't. It's poetry, so he wouldn't publish it. And that was my most meaningful to me writing. This Speck of Earth, not this Speck of Earth.
Spectrum of Love.
Yeah, yeah, that was my most meaningful piece of artwork that I've ever done.
I do mean to apologise. I am making you think back to certain time periods, which are, quite a long.
It's hard to, because I've done so much and just been involved with so much that I forget dates, I forget times.
Right.
I might just see a poster and that reminds me.
Many of your readers may not be aware of your work. Some years back, where you helped kids with their drug problems, and you would also speak at local schools and clubs.
Yeah.
Many of life's answers are in your books, and I'm guessing you made a positive impact on many young people via that. Via doing
I hope
that.
so. Yeah, I hope so, because they didn't have anybody, and they needed some reassurance and something that nobody could give to them or gave to them. In my book, or myself, my person, I was always involved, in helping kids.
Can I ask, and I guess it's safe to assume that Spectrum of Love is your most well-known poem, published in 1973. Were you aware? Were you aware when you were writing that just how special and life-changing it was?
No, I had no idea. I was just writing and flowing with my writing. But you know what it was? It'll blow your mind. It was a letter to somebody I loved that didn't know how to love back. It was a personal letter. Most people don't know that. You're one of the few people that know that.
Wow.
So that's how Spectrum of Love became, I guess, because of it being a letter.
Well, it's gone on to touch the lives of so many people, and it's wonderful. It still is wonderful. And a lot of us have it hanging up on our walls in households around the world, I'm sure.
You're very encouraging.
Your books are encouraging. As a collector of your books, can I ask what was the reason behind releasing 2 volumes of The Humanness of You?
I don't remember why they split it. I have no idea why they did the 2 volumes.
So it was a publisher's decision, I guess.
Yeah. It wasn't mine.
Walter, I believe you were at one time working on books titled Thief of Hearts, The Hate Healer, and Fishing for Stars. What can you tell me about those works?
They never went anywhere.
Unpublished?
Yeah, they just never went anywhere.
Okay.
My life, I think whenever my life took a turn in a different direction for a while. That's the only thing I can remember. Yeah, I wrote a lot of things that I never, books, manuscripts, things like that weren't published, and I don't remember why they weren't, because I thought they were good books.
Look, can I ask you a tough question? But which book of yours, maybe if you could name a couple, are you most proud of?
I like This Time Called Life a lot. I like the poetry and the feelings in that. That's what was in my second book, This Time Called Life, and Spectrum of Love.
Both wonderful books. I actually have one of my favourites is Will You Share With Me, which I have in my hand. There's some absolutely wonderful photographs and poems in here.
I love that. Yeah, I do too. I love that.
There's one you've written here called Two Different Worlds, and it's the Manhattan skyline, and it's talking about the world of worlds of sea and steel, and in time, which one will overcome. Just wonderful books, wonderful works. I was going to ask you about the. If you can recall, there was a vinyl LP which was pressed in 1972 called Spectrum of Love.
Oh, they did 10,000 copies, but it didn't sell very well.
Well, it came with a lovely poster on parchment paper, and it's wonderful that you were able to put your words and recordings on vinyl.
At least I got 10,000 out.
Yeah. It's I have a copy here, and it's I still listen to it. It's nice to have those poems narrated.
I felt very honored when they asked me to do, would you record, would you, et cetera. And I thought, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to have people hear my voice and things like that, and put music behind my poetry. I said, I really felt honored when they did it, and then they blew me away by, well, our poetry isn't selling very well. We're going to have to stop publishing. All of a sudden, just cut it off like a knife.
That's
That was a very sad time in my life.
I imagine it would have been, but I'm people like me are very, very grateful of the work you have produced. Early on, Walter, in our conversation, I did mention that I believe there's not enough information about you, which is readily available. Yet I do believe there was a book written by a friend of yours, I think David Stefan, back in '82.
Yeah, he was
wrote a book.
my good friend. He was my good friend, and he was going to do a biography on me.
Okay, was that ever published? Or
he died? No, he died. Okay. Didn't finish it, but if I could get a copy, that would be fantastic. But I don't think I can because I don't know where to look. But yeah, he died a couple of years ago, I think. Yeah, he was going to get a book published on my life.
Okay. Before you go, I would like to share with you some of my favourite quotes of yours, and if you can possibly hark back, I'd like your thoughts on them. One of them simply states, "Nature the teacher, man the student."
I've always been nature's always been a very extremely important part of my life, extremely. And I think that there's more love in nature than there is in people. So I was drawn to nature more than people. I really, as I got older like that, I really realized how beautiful nature is. It's perfect. We're so far from that.
Have you ever listened to the snowfall? That's another beautiful phrase of yours.
Oh yeah, that was another part of my love of nature. And I think I try to put that in my books too, to let people know that nature is the most beautiful thing there is. And so I try to make it a little poetic by writing that.
Artists and craftsmen open the door to beauty. Let us enter. That's from This Time Called Life. That's one of my favorites.
That was a continuation of nature and all the beauty that there is. It's just endless. Sit at night and look at the stars or whatever, There's a lot of poetry in nature if you just look for it.
1,000 years is but a grain of sand in time, but love is 1,000 grains of sand in one human lifetime.
I was trying to share and emphasize the fact that nature, we are a part of nature, and nature is a part of us, and you can't separate the two. And nature is so perfect and so beautiful that if you enter into it, you'll be surprised, what you'll find within yourself, not outside. And you don't have to use crutches, but all this is inside you.
For Christmas, my brother gave me a copy of your LP, Love is an Attitude. I had a scratched copy, but this one is beautiful with the parchment poster too. It's very nice. So it was a lovely Christmas gift.
Oh wow!
So
yeah, I have one or two copies left of that.
What's Christmas like in your part of the world? I saw that in Portland they have a Christmas ship parade.
Yeah, that goes close to our house. We didn't see it this year because we weren't in the space, but we've seen it in the past years.
What is it called? Boat parade.
Boat parade, yeah. Boat parade. It's really beautiful. We have some nice things here in Portland. For a small city, it holds its own, compared to Seattle and Los Angeles.
When you were younger, was Christmas a time of inspiration for you? A good time to write?
Yeah, no, it was just a good time. I loved Christmas.
I would like to ask you the 1981 book Forever Us. Where was that cover photograph taken?
I don't have copies here.
There's a gentleman sitting on a rock. It's a beautiful landscape, and I've always wondered where that was taken.
Yeah, they're all in the store. What I had left was in the storeroom. But I'll see if I can find it for you and not tell you.
No problems. The book Love is an Attitude, which sold incredibly well, virtually no advertising, I believe, and to me that says plenty about people spreading a positive message.
Well, it does, but it didn't last as long as we hoped it would. My publisher wasn't selling that many books, so he canceled my publishing. He canceled the publishing of my books, which left me in the cold. Because I thought I would be, doing writing and things all my life.
Where was the photograph for Love is an Attitude taken? The man on the shoreline holding his boots.
Isn't it? So many people thought that was their brother, or thought that, that was taken in the San Francisco beach. The entrance to San Francisco Bay. Yeah, that's where it was taken. And I never saw his face. I never talked to him or anything like that. He just was standing there, and I thought, wow, that's really neat. And I took a picture.
It's a lovely, lovely photograph.
So many people relate to it, and you can't even see his face. Isn't that funny?
Walter, I read when you were in your very early 20s, you spent 2 years in the U.S. Army. How do you look back on that time period?
I don't. I don't. That's killing people is the furthest thing from my mind. So I just did what I had to do for 2 years and got through it, and that was it. No influence on me whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah, it had no influence.
Can I ask you about your book from 1973, Follow Your Heart, which is one of my favorites, once described as, in simple, haunting words and photographs, Walter Rinder reveals the tenderness that any man or woman needs to experience the fullness and beauty of life. He shows that once you understand how to touch, to listen, to see, and to speak, you gain the most precious understanding you can ever attain, knowledge of yourself. I think that's a beautiful description of Follow Your Heart.
I never heard of that before. You're finding things I've never experienced. I've never heard that. That's beautiful. I tried to write simple. I was trying to use simple words, not intellectual and all that, because I wanted to reach the simplest of people, and young people especially, because they have their whole life ahead of them. So I use simple words, and I tried to do that to reach the young people who are starting out in life and building, their future. So that's why when people, intellectuals, read my books, they say, "Oh, how trite that writing is." It isn't. I'm reaching the people I want to reach. How's that?
It's very true. It's very true. And I think I don't have your quote in front of me, but you did mention around that time period that you use your photographs and your words to communicate, which I thought is sums up you perfectly.
Because I love photography, and I started out doing photography, not writing, and I became, well known through writing, not photography. Isn't that interesting? It
is, and I know from researching your life that in 1968 you had a photo gallery which was at 532 Green Street, and I have read that you held San Francisco's first all-color photo gallery.
Exactly.
It must have been a very exciting time period in your life, having the gallery.
It was, and I wasn't writing then. mainly I was doing photography and selling photos of San Francisco. So yeah, it was an incredible time in my life. I love San Francisco. I love living there. I loved everything. So I had a gallery in North Beach, yeah, called, I believe it was called Rinder's World of Color, I think. Can you remember?
That's right. And I do know that you wrote a story called Memo, published in Where Will I Be Tomorrow, where you met a man who'd been in a concentration camp in World War II, yet you missed the opportunity to get his story down. Can you recall that incident?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't.
That's okay.
I don't recall that at all. I did so many things, and I traveled around different parts of the country and stuff, but I met so many people, and I did so many things. It's really hard for me to now look back on it.
Not all of your books featured photographs. Spectrum of Love has some wonderful drawings by David Mitchell, as does Only One Today, which contains artwork from a lady, Claudia Ricketts. Do you recall how those two artists came about working on the books?
No, my publisher did that. I didn't even authorize it. I was out doing whatever I was doing, and my publisher thought he could make more money by doing more books of my writings. But I didn't okay it.
Okay.
I wouldn't have okayed it. No.
Let me read through a couple of your phrases, and I hope you can give me further insight. One says, promises should be lived rather than spoken. Only hope can bandage a wounded heart.
Usually on things like special things like this, I just feel it, and it just comes out. It's not like I think it. It just happens. Does that make sense to you?
It does, and I think they resonate with people at different times in their life. And I think that wonderful phrases and poetry, it never gets old, and it always remains relevant.
I think what I'm trying to say is, it's what I'm feeling wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing. It's what I'm feeling inside that these little phrases come out.
Another one of yours is treat change as a valuable friend, which I've loved. Treat change as a valuable friend.
See, that I don't know. I don't know, and I can't remember where they came from, except that I think of Big Sur, California. I think that one I think came from just walking on the beach and being with somebody or whatever.
I saw life through the eyes of a child as I watch him clean his boat. Before putting it into the lake, we can learn from children.
Yeah, I remember that was in San Francisco. That was in North Beach, close to the water. And then the little boy was washing his boat. I thought, that's incredible. He's cleaning his boat before he puts it in the water. That was pretty fantastic. So that's where that came from. I remember that.
You may be poor in possessions, but you can become rich in your ability to experience the essence of life.
That's just one of my spontaneous poetry.
You know, sometimes when I read a phrase in one of your books, it just stops me in my tracks, and I think that powerful words never age and can be just as powerful as when they were written, I believe.
Yeah.
Walter, I've been going through a lot of old news cuttings as well, and I noticed that, and you may not recall, but June 28th, 74, you held an autograph or book signing at the House of Aquarius, Normandale Shopping Centre, Montgomery, Alabama. I found that in an old newspaper. Spreading the word across country, Walter. Do you recall that event?
No. I don't at all. Even when you bring it up, I don't.
Yeah.
That's an unknown.
Well, I think
I used to do so many things, from place to place and person to person and things like that, that it's really hard for me to remember.
Well, Walter, I have mentioned this to you before, but I believe that in today's mixed-up world, there are a lot of unhappy people, yet many people are seeking simplicity and happiness, and my whole aim of contacting you and recording your stories is to try and introduce the world of Walter Rinder to a whole new generation, because I believe many people could benefit from your words and meanings.
I believe that. I agree with you. It's just reaching them. It's them finding us, or we find them. I think them finding us.
You know, Walter,
Okay.
One thing I have noticed is how many couples over the years have quoted your poems as part of, say, their wedding ceremonies. Some,
Yeah.
yeah.
I used to get fan mail with people that had used my poem, especially "Spectrum of Love," in their wedding vows. Yeah. Yeah. I got letters. People tell me they did that, which I think is fantastic. I felt really honored at the response I have got from people.
Harold Kramer, who I believe he started Celestial Arts, and
He's the owner.
he made he quoted in '74 about the company and said, "Our books present a very positive message about people being able to make it in this age we live in." I still think that resonates today. That comment.
This is just finding them, or them finding you. And that's the thing you're talking about.
Your life in San Francisco and then Oregon filled you with inspiration. How would you describe that time period in your life to a young person maybe discovering your books?
It was a wonderful time, the 60s and the 70s. People were giving, in writing poetry, in writing sensitivity. They were extremely, important. And so I had a lot of people that were behind me. Now, of course, it's very different. But then it was just a wonderful time in my life.
Previously, you shared with me how Spectrum of Love was written. I guess out of all your written work, why do you think Spectrum of Love is the one which resonated with so many people?
Yeah. Why?
Why?
I don't know why. When I wrote and took pictures and things like that, I was just as much into photography as I was writing.
I think with Spectrum of Love, you were able to put into words what many people feel but cannot express.
That's probably could be. Very, very much so. But when I wrote it, when I write my poem, I don't think of this being more popular than something else. I just write what I feel.
So before you became a writer, you were a photographer.
Yeah.
Many of your wonderful photographs are included throughout your books. How did you know what to shoot? What was it? Did you find something inspiring which would make you stop? What were you looking for?
I thought it was inspiring, or something that I saw had a lot of feelings for me. Yeah. And then I would match the pictures with a poem.
Can you recall which photographs in your books you were most proud of? Any particular ones stand out?
Yeah, the one on the cover of Spectrum of Love. Rose and Ashley. The book on the beach. That to me was one of my most beautiful photographs that I really love taking and matching on the cover of a book. Have you seen that book?
Yeah, I've got them all.
Oh, okay. So, but that would be the one that would be my favorite.
Actually, can you recall the cover for your book, Love is My Reason? It has a photograph of a young man with his head in his hands. Can you recall why and how that image was chosen? It's a wonderful picture. Love is My Reason.
I don't have my books with me.
Okay.
So I can't help you on that.
That's
because
okay.
I don't remember.
In your book, The Humanness of You, I think there is a photograph of your parents in there alongside the poem, Those Wonderful People.
Yeah.
Your folks were very supportive with your life and the journey you took, weren't they?
Extremely. My dad would take my books to the hospitals and places like that and sell them
Wow.
And I gave him, in his old age, I gave him something to do in selling his son's books, which I was very proud of.
Were your parents creative? Do you think some of that was passed on to you?
No, not really. They came from a totally different world than I did, and I don't know how I got so different than them. But no, they did inspire me and cared for me and were good parents, but nothing exceptional.
Okay.
It was my inner self that took me on my journey.
I interview a lot of musicians. I'm a big music fan. Was music a big part of your life when you were living in San Francisco?
Oh, yeah, very much.
Right. So when you had your gallery in North Beach, did Janis Joplin or Grace Slick or anyone famous come into your gallery?
Yeah, they did, but I don't remember. I can't. Unfortunately, a lot of these things I don't remember. But yeah,
that's okay.
There was quite a few that came in because the gallery was right in North Beach where everybody hung out. What
was the atmosphere like in the city in the mid to late 60s, particularly the Haight-Ashbury district?
It was very haight-ashbury. I was a very deep part of that, and not necessarily by choice. It just happened. A lot of the time were happenings, not intentional.
Can I ask, were you an admirer, Walter, of other authors on celestial arts? I quite like some of George Bett's material.
No, I really had nothing. I had nothing to do with it. Everything I don't understand. You know, and when I think back, that a lot of the things that I did alone. It wasn't like I had a whole bunch of people who were together, but mostly I did things I felt. So my life was lived through my feelings. Yeah, that's good.
It is.
I think that's a good way to express myself.
In the 1970s, how did you used to record your poems? I imagine you would carry a journal and pencil?
Oh, yeah. Just a pencil and a book.
Right.
Blank book, yeah. And I'd see something and it inspired me, so I would write down, on a piece of paper with a pencil.
I really like your small pocketbook from 1990 titled The World I Used to Know. You know, that book is a lifelong friend who cares about you. I love that.
I haven't seen that book for a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, actually, the last page is blank, apart from the words, "This page is for you," which can be translated many ways. I just love that.
I had my publisher do a small version of my poetry so that people could carry it in their purse or in their pocket. And he did that for me.
It's wonderful. I carry that book a lot. Can I read you something of yours which is very inspiring during these troubled times? And it says, "Love is everywhere. It is in the night sky where the stars smile. It is the field of wheat dancing in the wind. It is the waves sculpturing the rocks. It is the sound of music in man's creation of art." Truly wonderful and very special to read those words to the poet who wrote them.
You know, a lot of it, when I write poems, I don't remember. I don't remember that one.
The world today is very different from the late 1960s and 70s. I guess many people are unhappy. Do you think it's possible to heal the modern world, and how could we do that?
The only thing to do is caring for each other, I think. Just caring for each other, loving each other, you know, and without any restrictions. But we have to help. We have to help each other. You know, those that have more have to give for those that have less, and that's a big change. It's
been lovely to talk with you again. As I've mentioned, you have touched my life. Your books are of great comfort to me and so many others. Through your books, you've given meaning to so many of us and have been a source of inspiration. The world is a better place because of your books. So thank you once again.
I really appreciate your support.
Walter, is there a message you would like to give to anyone who has ever read and been touched by your books or poems?
Oh, wow, what a question. Just treat life as something very precious and don't waste it.